time to rethink the disrupted U.S. food system from the ground up. This is by Professor of Earth and Space Science, University of Washington, David Montgomery, on the conversation. Jennifer Otten, Associate Professor, Center for Public Health and Nutrition, University of Washington. Sarah Collier, Assistant Professor, Environment and Occupational Health Science, University of Washington. The COVID-19 pandemic and resulting economic shutdowns have severely disrupted and spotlighted weaknesses in the U.S. food system. Farmers, food distributors, and government agencies are working to reconfigure supply chains so that food can get to where it's needed. But there is a hidden, long-neglected dimension that should also be addressed as the nation rebuilds from the current crisis. As scholars who study different aspects of soil, nutrition, and food systems, we're concerned about a key vulnerability at the very foundation of the food system: soil. On farms and ranches across the U.S., the health of soil is seriously compromised today. Conventional farming practices have degraded it, and erosion has shorn away much of it. Iowa has lost about half of the topsoil it had in 1850. Since they were first plowed, America's farmland soils have lost about half of their organic matter, the dark, spongy, decomposed plant and animal tissue that helps make them fertile. The soil that produces our nation's food supply is a weakened link, slowly failing under ongoing strain. This breakdown is not as dramatic as what happened in the 1930s during the Dust Bowl, but is just as worrying. Human history holds many examples of once thriving agricultural regions around the world where failure to maintain soil health degraded entire regions far below their potential agriculture productivity, impoverishing the descendants of those who wrecked their land. And we believe there is an urgent need to rebuild soil health across the U.S., and this can help maintain harvests over the long run and lay a solid foundation for a more resilient food system. Investing in soil health will benefit environmental and human health in ways that are becoming increasingly apparent and important. Food production starts with soil. Soil is the foundation of the U.S. food system. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and oils come directly from plants grown in soil. Meat, poultry, dairy products, and many farmed fish come from animals that feed on plants. Wild-caught fish and shellfish, which provide a tiny fraction of the typical American diet, are virtually the only exception. As populations around the globe ballooned over recent centuries, so did pressure to force more productivity out of every available acre. In many parts of the world, this led to farming practices that degraded soil far beyond its natural fertility. In the southeastern U.S., for example, agricultural erosion stripped soil from hillsides in 100 times faster than the natural rate of soil formation. Today, farmers in the Piedmont, from Virginia to Alabama, between the Atlantic coast and the Appalachian Mountains, coax crops from poor subsoil rather than rich topsoil that early European settlers praised. Researchers, government agencies, and nonprofit groups recognize soil degradation as a national problem and have started to focus on rebuilding soil health. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Natural Resource Conservation Service helps farmers improve the health and function of their soils. Non-government organizations are recognizing the need to restore soil health on agricultural lands. And in 1918, the 2018 Farm Bill directed new attention and funding to soil health programs. Public health. Beyond growing food, soils support human, public, and planetary health. Well before the current pandemic, experts in public health and nutrition recognized that modern agriculture was failing to sustain consumers, the land, and rural communities. This insight helped spur the emergence of a new multidisciplinary field known as food systems that analyzes how food is produced and distributed. But work in the field tends to focus on the environmental impacts of food production with less attention to economic and social implications or to links between farming practices. Soil health and the nutritional quality of food. Many studies narrowly focus on greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture when addressing soils and sustainability, without including the many ecological benefits that healthy soils provide. To be sure, man-made climate change is a major long-term threat to human planetary health, but soil health is just as critical in its own right. Human actions have already harmed agricultural productivity in areas around the world, and when soil is degraded, food production systems are less able to weather future challenges that we can expect in the changing climate. The study of soil health can also have its own blind spots. Often, agricultural research focuses solely on crop yields or the impact of individual conservation practices such as adopting no-till planting or planting cover crops to protect soil from erosion. Such analysis rarely considers linkages driven by dietary demand for specific foods and crops, or the effects of farming practices on the nutrient content of forage and crops that sustain livestock and humans. Food system experts have called for transforming food production to improve human health and make agriculture more sustainable. Some researchers have proposed specific diets that they argue would accomplish both goals, but fully understanding connections between soil health and public health will require greater collaboration between those studying food systems, nutrition, and how we treat the soil. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.